5:32 is what it says on the computer. Let's start the meeting. Can I ask for the meeting to be called to order? Do we need a motion to open the meeting?
I'll make a motion to call to order.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay. Is everyone in agreement?
Yeah.
Aye. Thank you. I'd like to start with the invocation, and if you don't mind, please.
Sure. All right, shall we pray? Dear Lord, we do thank you for who you are. We thank you for this time of year we celebrate life, and especially this past weekend, the resurrection of your Son. So we thank you for that, what that means. Thank you that you rule over all, that we can bring our requests to you. We do pray for Ralph, that you would continue to strengthen him, that you know his needs better than we do. Pray that you be dear to him. We pray now that you would bless this meeting and just watch over us, we ask. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance if we could, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
I love the delay on that thing. That's wonderful. Messes my cadence up.
Can I get an approval of the agenda, please? Thank you. Who seconds?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tina. All approve? Aye. Thank you. Okay, on the approval of the March 9th council meeting minutes, there is one error I noticed under 4, under new business. It says Mayor Anger. It changed.
Hey.
How that happened.
Under which one?
Yeah, March 9th. Approval of the minutes, yeah. Under 4.
That's a cute
Under new business. I don't know if it should be what it should be.
Then can I read?
Yeah,
So it makes it be. So can we approve it
with
with that change?
change, yes. So, can I get an approval of the minutes with that change, please?
I make a motion to, should we approve all of them? I make a motion to approve.
That was
the minutes from March 9th, regular March 9th, closed session minutes, April 3rd special meeting, and April 3rd closed session meeting. So I move to approve all 4.
Second. Diana seconds. We all, in approval, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. The presentation of the financial and tax report, please.
The taxes for last month were $6,657.90. I'm sure y'all had time to look over the financials. We are gonna probably have a special call meeting before the end of the month to clean up the budget before everything transferred over to admin. So y'all can think of a date that everybody could be here.
Do you want to set that now? Do you want to set that calendar now?
Should we try and do it next week before we do the conversion? Because if Edmonds pulls everything in on the 27th, should we try and do it before the 27th? So it's clean for the conversion?
If that's what's
What
necessary.
about like Wednesday next week? Anybody got anything?
We can do it during the day.
Yeah.
It won't take long.
It won't
just
take
budget.
Why don't you just send out an email? I don't have my calendar in front of me.
Okay.
Okay.
If we tentatively set it for Wednesday at
2 o'clock?
2, are you okay?
Yeah, I just don't know.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
There's just a few things. We're not over in like the main yet. A few line items that we need to.
Are these the budget amendments?
Yeah.
To do that. Okay.
Yeah.
The 19th of May. Are we right? Just make sure it's the right. Everything.
Yes, that would
Yes,
be
the 19th.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Okay.
Before we go,
More financials.
yes. Are we talking?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to go over a couple of things since we're talking about the finances. We're in really good shape financially. The TAP, we received For the ad valorem tax, we've received so far more, about $3,800 more than we budgeted. In every other category, we're a little over in revenue, so we've got a little bit more in revenue than we budgeted, and this is as of March, so we'll get a little bit more. And on the expense side, this is in the general fund I'm talking about, and in the expense side, we're a little bit under, so we're doing really well. Year over year, from March last year to March this year, we're about $53,000 more in savings and checking water funds, so we have more money. And in the water account, we'll probably be a little bit under in actual consumption charge and residential base, but it won't be that much, maybe about $1,800 under in each category. But we're also under in expenses, so we should be fine in both of those. I just wanted to say that. But then some budget ideas, and I know we'll be having a budget workshop and a budget public hearing, but I just wanted to throw out some ideas that I'm looking at now. One is to add a continuing education fund in the water fund. We have one in the general fund, but not in water, so that it can be tracked correctly. For Scott to do his whatever you want to do in your learning for your job, and for Kim also. For the truck, we currently have $10,000 from the 4x4 that we sold, and we budgeted $10,000 for this year. So next year I'm going to continue that, so we'll have about $30,000 to put towards a truck, which is a 2014, so it's really time to get a new truck.
Polaris sold for $9,000.
I rounded up, it was like 9,900 or something. I just rounded up.
90, was it 99 or 98?
No, it's 9,000.
9,000 even?
Yep.
So 19,000. So thinking about the truck for the budget. Another thing is a salter.
Recording in progress.
The salter is on its last leg, if it has a leg. It's on its last electrical outlet, whatever. Scott's having to wire parts of it together to keep it, and that's about a $7,000 expense. New water pumps, pump tanks, that may be about $6,000. And also, I'm looking into employee benefits, vision, dental, life insurance, short-term disability, and long-term disability, which we have some information on that I'll be sharing. It's very reasonable. The vision is only $7 a month for employees. Dental is $29. Life insurance, $16. Short-term disability, $14, and long-term disability, $10. So it's something that we don't offer now, but I think that we should, and it's very reasonable cost. It'll be about $188 a month. So those are just some of my ideas that I'll be going over when we have our workshop.
Do we have anything from Graham County on their millage rate yet? And do we have any ideas of what we're going to be doing
As far
as dropping our millage rate?
oh, obviously, yes.
I think, I had asked,
Brandy?
Brandy,
Yeah.
about the tax values here. And she said the guy that has done all those will be back on the 15th. And I guess he'll start on doing the reappraising or whatever in
The appeals.
Yeah. And so hopefully, I don't know how long that'll take. I don't know how many people we had that appealed. So,
There was a whole folder
Really?
when I was in the office.
And I think they're going through some of them, like, they didn't even call me on mine, they just adjusted it.
They are having
probably some of
meetings.
the ones that are
Easy.
I mean, I kind of know what yours was, so the ones that are just easy, they probably are. And then the ones that they're gonna have to come back out, probably take a little bit longer. But I'm hoping, it's kind of hard to figure anything until you know what the number you're figuring on. So Tina's going backwards. She's figuring all the expenses and kind of waiting to see.
the expenses will be pretty much what they were. Some things won't be as much. We won't have the cost of the financial system. That was a big cost. We'll have the annual fee for that, but not the conversion fees. And then some things is just going to be inflationary, and whatever the expenditure is, that's how much we need in revenue, and that's how we're going to figure out what the percentage will be. So I'm going backwards instead of picking the percentage, but if we left the same millage rate with the same amount that originally was given for the value, we would have about $300,000 extra in tax, and that's not going to happen.
Okay, everyone, thank you.
I just wanted
You have
to
anything else you want to
No,
share?
I just wanted to share that. This is what I'm looking at, so.
Thank you, this is interesting. And when we do have our budget meeting, I really want everyone to start thinking about ways to contribute your ideas to the town, help us with the budget. I'm sorry? Sir, did you say something?
No, I did say something, but I don't want to repeat it.
Okay. All right, so I want everyone to feel free to contribute their ideas and their thoughts and how they, we should work the monies this year.
Oh, man.
Okay, so then the next thing we're going to request for public comment. Do we have anyone who would like to have public comment? We didn't put a sign-up sheet, but if you want to raise your hand. And if anybody on the Zoom call.
Betty's got her
before we
hand
start.
up.
Betty has her hand up.
Jack.
Does anybody
Right.
else want public comment besides Betty on Zoom call? Okay, not that I can see.
And Kevin.
So I have Kevin, Betty, and Jack.
All right, anyone else?
Okay, Kevin,
Well, I'm first?
you're first.
Okay. Well, I was trying to inquire with the council, it's come to my knowledge that you're choosing not to enforce our zoning laws. And I was just wondering why, I think it was Connie and Tina, as I understand the other two currently, and I was wondering why we're doing that. Why are we not? I know there's no, that you guys didn't renew the contract with our inspector, but I was just curious on why that's happening. If you just,
Would you like me to answer that?
yeah, I'd like both of you to answer.
Okay, fine. We are, our zoning is in place the way it is, and we have a zoning administrator that took Brian Farley's place, and he is actually doing the same exact thing as what Brian Farley was told to do. And he is supposed to be looking at all the permits that are coming in, not the permits, but the building designs that are coming in and making sure they fit the setbacks and the height registrations and that kind of stuff. He is not code enforcement. Our town doesn't have a code enforcement person. If we did have a code enforcement person, we'd have to probably increase the budget to about $50,000–$60,000 to have somebody as a full-time code enforcement. And I don't think we can afford that. I don't think that's necessary. I think we should be able to work on putting together some zoning documents that are enforceable and are easier to follow. So that's where I'm looking for the future. We did have a public hearing on this a while back, over a year ago, and it was known that we should have some type of zoning, but to keep what we have in force and to enforce it, we would have to have a tremendous budget to have somebody to hire.
The person's resume that we did hire, and I forget his
What's his name?
He had code enforcement on his resume.
That's right, but he's not doing code enforcement. He can't possibly do code enforcement. He wasn't hired to do code enforcement. And Brian Farley was told not to do code enforcement. So that's on tape and video. So I'm just saying, so in all this stuff, we are doing exactly the same as what was being done previous. We have the same type of abilities. This person is doing the same thing, and he has 2 building applications in his possession now we're waiting for answers on. But as far as going around and checking code enforcement and different things, as far as he's not doing that, he wasn't hired to do that. And I was quite clear and transparent when he was hired for this position.
What's the new gentleman's name? Is that for
Brandon?
Brandon? Okay.
Yeah. Emery, in case you know.
And how long has he been on deck?
He was hired on right after Brian Farley left, probably within a month.
Probably like March, after, It was when we were working on
So
the
March
budget last year.
22?
I think it was in March 22, yes, in that area.
So, yeah, and that's what I thought, he was on an as-needed basis, so why can't we do code enforcement once a month, or as needed? Where'd you get the $50,000
Because that's,
number from?
if you look on any
Where'd that
kind of
come
employment, Indeed, or any of the employment emails out there, you look up and find out what a code enforcement person would cost. You find out what.
That's a
zoning-
large city, though,
It's a-
Connie.
No, it's whatever, they get the money because they're educated, and it doesn't matter how big.
I think we
area.
should submit that to our guy and ask him how much extra it would be.
He can't possibly do that, he's in a whole different area, and he wasn't hired to do that.
Well, he can be hired, but
No, he is hired, and he's
Well,
doing a
there's-
very fine
there's a
job.
possibility that he could include that in his job description.
It's,
Why don't we ask?
I don't know, we already have a contract with him, maybe when it's time to renew a contract possibly, but I'm not looking to hire somebody to come in and do code enforcement. I don't think we can do it, and he wouldn't do it.
Then why
On
do
the
we
rate
have any
that you're
zoning
thinking.
whatsoever, Connie?
Was that, why then, that's a good question. Can we have that put on the record?
So you're on record to say that you're against code enforcement?
I'm against having to spend the money to have a code enforcement person. That's on the record.
Where's our money girl? Tina, you're the one that likes to drill down on all these dollar amounts. Would you kindly call this gentleman and ask him to submit an estimate, if not for immediately, for the future, as soon as possible? Because to me, it just seems ludicrous that in a community like this, that we're going around with codes that aren't being enforced.
I think, well, this is my personal opinion, and I've said this before, and even during the planning board, before this was passed, what if he comes around and he says, you're off your setback, the house is already built, the shed's already there, whatever. We tell somebody you're off, you need to take a foot off your height, you need to move your house back a foot. What do we do? It has to be enforceable. And even if he comes around and he sends a letter, do we have any enforcement? I think the only enforcement we have is to take someone to court.
School of Government
And-
says the house can be taken down.
Okay, we have to take someone to court then to do that.
And that's what it is, it's a
That-
court
Then
proceeding.
that
There
becomes.
are
It'd be better to
certain
have
people in town that don't seem to
someone on
mind,
staff
legislative
that will
and court
enforce.
cases, so I don't know why that's a big issue now all of a sudden.
Well, it would be pretty expensive, because if you drive
They're all
around.
expensive, Tina, you're correct, they're all expensive.
They can be, but I think, well,
Let's
I
put
see
it
what
in
you're
the
saying,
budget.
and I agree. This is the discussion we had last year during the budget, was I said, if we're gonna have zoning, we need to hire someone that can enforce it, and it's gonna cost money. And when I proposed last year to put $50,000 in the budget, there were 97 people that showed up and said, they want zoning, but they don't wanna pay for it. So what do we do?
I don't
That's-
think
we have to-
they were not in favor of the entire budget, not just a line item. Okay, so
Mostly
you're
it was the
incorrect on that.
zoning. Those people that were on that hearing, there were 97 people on the Zoom, and they were in favor of having some sort of zoning. And they even came down and said, okay, maybe we don't need the zoning as big and detailed as it is, maybe we need something else that can be enforced and that we can afford.
Let me submit
That's
to
the
you that
balance
other
that we
cities,
need.
towns, and small communities are able to do this, okay? I don't know why we're the anomaly, and we're unable to do this because it's too expensive, or we can't find anybody, or they're not qualified, or whatever. I think with a little due diligence on the part of the council, or whoever, if we appoint a committee to do this, that we get on this right away, because I think it's just, we're coming up on spring and summer, there's a number of new structures going in around here. It's very possible that they may be or may not be in compliance. You know, I drive by certain communities and I see structures going up that are multi-stories high, and they block other people's views. As Jack says, views don't matter, but we do have a height restriction based on our zoning codes. And I'm curious, has anybody gone down there, take the measure tape out, and make sure that they're in compliance? Where's our building?
Well,
at?
this is the funny thing about that, the height thing is, it's 35 feet from the dirt. So you can you can make a moat around your house, push as much dirt up as you need to the front door, and then measure 35 feet.
I think they work pretty carefully in trying to define what that is.
Yeah,
I
get
don't think
measure
that's
off.
accurate.
That is not accurate.
I do see what you're saying, Kevin, and I walk the dog, you know, I walk the dog, and
How would you like that built in front of your
I-
house? No,
you know, we don't, and we're
Oh,
not
but that's the
allowed to-
reason we have zoning around here.
Right,
And
but
that's-
it's
and
not
if we're not
for
gonna
use.
enforce it, then
We need to change
most
it.
of us should be moving out of here, because it's gonna go downhill
Well,
pretty
we
quick.
need to.
We need
yeah,
to
we should
change
the
it, and
zoning.
that's what I had hoped we were able to do, is
What?
to change and present something that would be fair for everyone. But we're not talking about zoning right now, that's a whole nother subject. But thank you for your
Okay.
comment, and we'll move on.
All right,
Jackie, would you like to?
I
be
think
next?
Debbie's up next.
Betty, you're up next. Oh, and Susan Richards Robinson has her hand up, please. Betty, would you like to speak, please?
Okay, I will. I have about 2 or 3 issues, 3 or 4 issues to talk about. On the issue of appointing an alternative to the existing planning board, currently there are 5 members on the board, and that should be sufficient for a town the size of Lake Santeetlah. However, if the town council feels compelled to appoint an alternate member, that individual should be supportive of the land use plan, zoning, and enforcement. Anyone who has previously advocated the elimination of zoning regulations should not be considered. My second point is on the issue of enforcing zoning regulations. I have received input from several concerned property owners who are alarmed about the lack of an enforcement of our current zoning regulations. And I don't see why this could not be an outside contractor who would review building permits to see if they're, or building plans to see if they're in compliance. I would respectfully request that a report of all zoning enforcement actions taken since current council was seated to be presented at the next council meeting, just so we're appraised of what's happening if things are moving along. Lastly, please note that it is important for town council to continue to keep our Thunderbird Property Owners Association informed of all current developments. And I have received things from you, and I hopefully wish that you would continue to do that. TPOA is a valuable resource for working with property owners, and remember that property owners are the taxpayers. TPOA is an excellent vehicle for input on the town's proposed decisions. As a community, we need to work together to ensure that the town and its boards are protective of our property values. And that's the greatest concern of the property owners, is that the values of our property remain stable. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Betty. Jack, are you next, or Susan's got her hand up? Jack is next, thank you.
Recently, 3 members of the Town of Lake Santeetlah Planning Board gathered via email, telephone, and created a letter which was supplied to the Town of Lake Santeetlah council members. Within that email chain, Chairperson Ann Haggard stated that she and other board members are very well aware of what constitutes an official meeting within North Carolina open meeting statutes. Chairperson Ann Haggard states that she did not converse or have contact with more than one other board member at a time, so therefore her actions would not be considered an official meeting. She clearly, within the email chain, that all 3 board members were involved discussing the same topic and agreed to a conclusion, sending out a letter. Within this email chain, it clearly and openly showed absolute prejudice towards multiple community members. Further, the 3 board members could not follow the very rules they had instituted within the Town of Lake Santeetlah zoning. 3 members were acting outside of their authority. It is clearly identified within the Town of Lake Santeetlah zoning that the Town Council shall appoint board members and alternates. There is nothing stated or identified within the Town of Lake Santeetlah zoning that the Planning Board make or are entitled to make recommendations for appointing members or alternates. The Planning Board is not a kingdom. As the Planning Board members are also automatically seated as Zoning Board of Adjustment members, the prejudice that is clearly identified within the letter they sent by the 3 Planning Board members, I believe there is just cause to remove all 3 from the Planning Board. They have openly identified community members as a problem, and those very community members, along with others, would not be treated fairly within the Town of Lake Santeetlah zoning by at least 3 members of the Zoning Board of Adjustment. Such open prejudice and discrimination cannot be tolerated. Their true colors have been shown. Their action and future actions will only lead to lawsuits. It will cost the town taxpayers. Again, in closing, please consider removing Ann Hager, Beth Carlton, and Bill Peel from the planning board for just cause as identified within the town Lake Santeetlah zoning. Thank you.
All right, we have another public comment. Thank you, Joe. Susan, would you like to speak, please?
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I just wanted to add about the zoning as I listen to everyone. I know that we have to balance the budget with protecting property values, and I don't think it is accurate that people didn't want to pay for zoning. I think some people questioned the estimations that were made in terms of what it would cost to actually have some proper zoning enforcement. And as I understand it, the current situation is there's an individual who's contracted who is hundreds of miles away, but his eyes and ears on our town have fallen to, I think, Scott Camps has to go out and take measurements, and I think that's unfair to Scott. Scott is a really fantastic town employee. We all appreciate him so much, but he shouldn't be put in a position of trying to take measurements for somebody that is far away, because those measurements are technical business. In other words, they have to go from a lot line to the edge of the house or from an elevation to the top of the house. This is technical, and Scott, Mr. Camps, is not trained as a person to look into the ordinance. By the way, this is an ordinance, it is law, it's not, the idea of mixing this up with code enforcement is another issue, but the point is, I don't think the system is working, and I think that's where Mr. Haig's concern comes in, is this system working? Because we are seeing some things occurring that, are really, one just wants to know, are things being handled properly? And so all the different arguments about whether these are enforceable or not and all this kind of stuff, I think is a little bit of a red herring, when in fact the system that is currently in place, I don't think actually potentially works. Now, I want to make one other point, which is these zoning codes and all of this on the books now, the property owner that is next door to someone who is violating the zoning ordinance probably would be a person that would bring this up and say, hey, this is going on. And it's my understanding that this goes then to a court process that is fairly quick. So I think that the planning board should potentially address these questions in conjunction with the council, and let's see if we can work for the property owners who are raising some concerns now about what types of buildings are going up in the town. Thank you. I'm sorry, I hadn't planned to speak, so I've been a little bit rambly. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Alan, would you like to speak? I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I just want to speak quickly to the zoning question, the zoning ordinance enforcement question. The town didn't have zoning for 60 years, the first 60 years of its existence. It didn't need it. It developed just fine. It did not become a bludgeon for community members, for people that wanted to live their dream in the town of Santeetlah, have to buy their dream home. But what I predicted a year and a half ago is beginning to manifest itself, that it's going to be used as a lever to push and manipulate and punish people that might have disagreements and different positions and postures with the town government, groups of individuals in the town. It's a bad idea. It was a bad idea from the get-go. It could have been written a lot more simply and effectively, and in a manner that doesn't just purely punish people on its face. My house, portions of my house are basically illegal if you read verbatim and interpret the zoning ordinance as written today. And that is entirely unfair and just wrong, because my house has stood without ever being challenged for 35 years. But now I'm going to have to tear down portions of my house if the zoning ordinance is not changed or adjusted or something. So the idea, and like I predicted, the zoning ordinance is now going to be used as a weapon. I warned against this before it was voted on and implemented. I was dismissed. Well, I've been proven right. So, you know, I moved there to push against some of the things that I saw as being highly dangerous and wrong for the town of Santeetlah. I know Santeetlah and its history extremely well. I have been going to Santeetlah and enjoyed it for 35 years, and that's why I moved there, was to go up and defend the future of Santeetlah. The idea that property values are going to be undermined if we don't have a zoning ordinance, I'm sorry, if the reverse is true. The zoning ordinance is undermining property values, and it's limiting the investment that people are willing to make in redeveloping lots and or buildings that currently exist in the town, because it's so restrictive. If you parse out and read very carefully the zoning ordinance, you will see how destructive it is, frankly, to any creativity in moving forward in the town's redevelopment and upgrade as it moves on in its existence. But, you know, there are some that just believe that it's got to be enforced, and a small group of people have to be the ones that do the enforcing, and that they're going to use it to get, I guess, others that disagree with them and get them in line. Well, I'm there to push back on that, and I'm never leaving, ever. So that's my feeling, because I'm witnessing what I feel like the early days of the destruction of one of the most magnificent places I've ever been and lived. So, and the idea also that the zoning board has to have hand-picked members that all have similar opinions, that's also a ridiculous posture to take, because that's completely undemocratic, and anyone that lives in the town has a right to serve on the board, on the council, and in any other official capacity in the town government. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Okay, so we're done. Is there any more public comments?
I had a comment on a different subject, so I didn't want to interrupt everybody while they were on zoning.
All right, we'll give you just a few minutes, and thank you.
As everybody knows, the power went out the other day. I believe it was 2 days. Again, we're without water at our house. Still a big issue. When the water came on, for whatever reason, there was a lot of mud and a lot of crud in the lines. All flushes up into the things, and because we're here all the time, when we turn on the taps, it runs through the whole house, fouls up the faucets, sinks, tubs, you name it, toilets, whatever. Huge expense. So this time I'm requesting a refund on my water bill from the council, probably for the whole month, because it doesn't just cover the cost of the water, but it covers the cost of the imposition of having to go through, take all the filters off my devices, clean everything out, and change it. This has been an ongoing 3-year project now that's still been tabled and no foreseeable solution in the future.
Okay.
So that's my request, and I think it's a valid one. Have at it.
All right. thank you. Does anybody else have any public comment? All right, thank you. Let's move on with the meeting. We have a long meeting in front of us. The first under old business would be the planning board appointment of 2 new board members. We have 3 people who have asked to fill that position. And
This is an alternate.
as an alternate, we have 3 people who have asked to fill that position. We have Jack Gross, we have Alan Davidson, and we have Ralph, and I apologize if I say your name wrong, Shrunk. Shrunk? Thank you, Ralph. Thank you. So those are our 3 candidates. According to our, in effect, zoning, item 1501.01 allows, says that town council duties related to zoning. If you turn to the next page, when you read through here, town council shall put somebody, shall review and propose changes and approve the land use and all that stuff. And then under here where it says planning board shall consist of 5 members and may have 2 alternate members. Members shall consist of town property owners, and alternate members shall only vote when they are sitting in a vacant seat. So I am proposing that we appoint 2 of these 3 people for this position. Do I have a motion?
I had made a motion last month to appoint Jack Gross. He's asked numerous times to be put on the planning board. He's never been given the opportunity, and I would make the motion to appoint Jack.
Thank you. Do we have another, shall we make the second appointment too, or just want to go one at a time? Tell me what you want to do.
Probably one at a time.
One at a
Is that what
time?
you've done before in the past?
I think that's the way they've done it in the past. Okay, so we have a motion for Jack Gross to be placed in the alternate planning board position.
Is there a discussion?
After it's second, yes, there is a discussion. So I will second that motion, and now we have a discussion.
Well, it states here, may have 2 alternate members. It is not necessary.
And May is left up to discretionary, and I feel we should have 2 more extra, the members the way it's written in the zoning.
Why would you not want to have an alternate? We have an
It
alternate.
is not alternate. It's not that necessary right now.
But we did have one before, so why wouldn't we want to replace one?
And it was necessary because when somebody left the board, they had to use the alternate. The alternate was put in place.
Let's deal with that at that time.
Well, right now, I feel we need to fill the positions.
Why wouldn't you want to have one though? Why would, we had an alternate when the planning board was set up almost 2 years ago. We had an alternate. Why
It's
would we
not
want-
necessary right now. The planning board isn't doing anything right now.
Well, that's not a good reason. I don't think that's an appropriate reason.
I don't have to give you a reason.
Oh, okay, good. So we have
Why
Jack
did you
Rose
put
to
a
be.
fox in charge of
You
the
are-
in-house?
There's no public comment from the audience, please. We have a motion on the table. We have discussion. Let's have a vote. Do we have Jack Rose to be the alternate member for the planning board?
I vote no.
I vote yes.
No.
You vote no. Okay, we have 2-2. Let's move on to the next person who has asked to be on the planning board, Ralph Strunk. Does somebody want to make a motion to appoint him to one of the 2 alternate positions?
The only way I could to get.
No. But we have nobody to appoint? Sorry, Ralph, nobody's appointing, making the motion to appoint you. Do we have a motion to appoint the 3rd contestant, which would be Alan Davidson, to the planning board alternate position?
I make a motion to appoint Alan.
I'll second that motion. Do we have discussion?
He's not a town property owner.
I think that should be, that's what it says in
It
our.
says it right there.
Right, but if,
His
I don't
father
think
owns
that
the property, his deceased mother owns the property.
I don't think that that is probably a very legal thing that was put in here, because you don't have to be a property owner to be a resident of the town.
It says it right here.
Yeah, but I would think that.
Oh, you're gonna make changes.
No, I'm not gonna make changes.
You go live in one.
but, I mean, we could ask Bo, he's on the council, on the,
Bo, can you tune in on this one, please?
Yeah, what was the question?
one of the requested townspeople, residents of the town, has requested to be considered as an alternate member of the planning board. His family owns the house that he is currently a resident of, but our planning ordinance says that you have to be a property owner.
I don't have the ordinance in front of me, but if it does say that the planning board member or alternate member has to be a resident, has to be a property owner, then he should comply with what's said in the ordinance.
Okay.
You withdraw that.
Alan, do you withdraw your application for this position now that you know that?
No, because it's a silly argument. Yeah,
the rule of law never applies.
All my family's property are in trust.
Excuse me, you're being rude.
All my family's properties are in trust. I am a beneficiary of the trust.
So, Bo, would that make a difference? Because a lot of the people, excuse me, in the audience, you need to stop talking. That's very rude. Bo, under circumstances, I'm sorry, be quiet. Under circumstances, a lot of the properties are put into trust, family trust. I believe that at the top of the mountain, there are several people who have their properties in a trust. There's several people around. So how would that play out? Excuse me. Who is speaking over there?
Do we know if any of the planning board members are?
So how is that going to play out? Because I think this is going to open up a real hornet's nest.
I think I would want to see who the owner of the property is. In Mr. Davidson's case, for example, I can look at the deed and see what it says. Generally, the trust owns the property, then it's the trustee who serves in that capacity, not so much the beneficiary. But I would want to look at that deed and also to take a second look at the ordinance. I think the question is whether a trust can serve as a member of the planning board as the owner. And I'm leaning towards no, but I certainly wouldn't mind more time to look at the deed and to compare and look again with fresh eyes at some of the ordinance, but to fully research that issue.
Okay, so to give you some time to do this, our next meeting is in 3 weeks because we had to move it up a little bit. So can you please find out that information and maybe have an opportunity to speak to Mr. Davidson or Steve if you want to share with him? And let's get these candidates let's get this cleared up. So,
or do you want to have a vote right now?
No. May 4th, I think when you have the proper information and time to gather that for our next meeting, we'll vote then.
We have a motion and a second on the table.
I think we do, so we have to.
Okay, so let's
Or you
finish
have
up.
to, you
So
make a motion to appoint him.
you did, and then we got second. So I'll withdraw the motion to appoint Alan Davis until we can have some research done on his property. Is that okay? To see if the trust would satisfy.
This kind of opens a can of worms too, because all the planning board members all have their homes individually listed to themselves and not to a trust.
I don't know.
So
Do we have to start looking at everybody?
Well, then what do you do?
Do you?
Because you have 5 planning board members, and if they're not individually listed on a deed, then they're in the same position.
This is
they
true.
They have to be the one listed on the deed. So if they have their homes in the trust, they can't be on the planning board.
We had somebody that was.
Unless their name is on the trust. Alan's name is not on the trust.
Right,
His
that's
father
we don't know.
and deceased mother's name are on the trust.
We're going to let our lawyer look at this.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that you're a lawyer, and I don't want any problems. So we will postpone this until the next meeting in May, first week of May, and we will then hopefully appoint somebody at the alternate position. Thank you. Let's move on to the next item. Would be the setup of the Edmonds financial program and an update. You want to join her?
We're going through training right now. So we started on Tuesday, we have training Tuesday, Wednesday, tomorrow, and Monday. It's a lot, but they're going to be with us even when we go live in May. They're going to walk us through the first check run we do, the first payroll we do. They've answered, we've asked tons of questions, and he's been really good to answer all questions. It's going to do a lot. I think it's going to make things a whole lot easier, a whole lot better. So we're coming right along with it.
Excellent.
If you have any outstanding checks that you
Please
haven't
cash.
cashed, please cash them. We're trying to clean up anything that's outstanding, making all of the deposits, trying to clear out all the checks. We're going to try and balance anything that's kind of off. So when we do the conversion over, there won't be like anything dangly, and we can just, it'll be a cleaner. Yeah, anything old, if you have a check, to cash it. And also, that'll be coming up for the water bill, the water billing. We already have the water bill, so.
The water billing so we will bill the last time on our current system in June. So the end of June, your water bill will still look the same. It will still come from the old program. And then they'll take over in July after we've billed. So I think we'll start accepting payments in July, the bills in June.
With the new system.
And then when we bill in September, it'll be out in the new system. And they wanted to do it that way. They wanted to have the last to take over right after a billing cycle. So, and the bill, once we get on the Edmonds, you'll be able to go online and pay your water bill. You can do it with a check, you can do it with a credit card, and we won't have to figure the 3% fee for paying with a credit card. It's all built in, so it'll be really good. And then we can print out a report and see who's paid, but it also will flow right over into the revenue side. And now we have to manually do that. So the water billing, it's going to cut down a lot of time.
And I'd like an opportunity to thank Kim and Tina, but especially Kim, because she has been sitting diligently in front of that computer trying to learn this stuff for the last 2 days, if not even before. And there's 2 more sessions that we're going to close the office so she can have the time to concentrate and to be hands-on with this live class. So thank you so much. You don't know how much I appreciate everything you do for this town.
Thank you. And they're being recorded, so we are going to be able to go back and look. And I actually did that today. I went back and looked at a video to figure out how to do. Yeah, so it is going to be an easy thing.
Next we have number 3 under water reader replacement update. Scott, if you don't mind, would you please let us know what you found out about that?
So excuse me. So you have 2 aspects with the water reader. You have the billing stuff, and then you have the actual I'm looking at it, the actual hardware that you go out with. And so you kind of got hardware and software costs on that. The one that we have now is called the Ranger. Putting that back in there.
You want to show and tell?
Well, I mean, and it works fine, but it is not. It's discontinued, so you can't get anybody to work on it after this year. So if it were to have any problems, but that's what reads the meters.
Can you look pro over there?
I love 1980s.
Yeah.
Just missing the big hair.
So, and I can't remember the cost, but for the, okay, good.
It's up there.
And so you can see the hardware fee is $8,500, and then the software would be the rest of it, and the training. The annual subscription is the yearly, so what is that, 1,300 about? But what that would do is it's far superior to that. I mean, that's good, and that's way better than manually reading it, so I'm not complaining at all. But it would be an upgrade, and it would be something that's serviceable. It would be better for when there's problems. If any of you have had problems, you can get the graph if you've got a leak. We would have a tablet it would just communicate everything a lot easier, and it would tie the whole system in with our wells if we were to upgrade those as well, so that it will make it far easier to keep track of what our water loss is. I mean, that's...
It's downloads to the cloud, right?
Yeah,
So-
that's the other thing is it'd be easier for us to read, and I could read once a month then. But right now it has to get set up, and it's more coordination to do a reading. So anyway, so there's a lot of little things that would be worthwhile. The biggest one is to have something that's serviceable if it goes bad, because right now, we don't.
You've had trouble with it.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
We've had it worked on.
You've had it worked on, I've seen you struggle with that
Trying to get it
every
started.
time you go to
Yeah.
use it, yes.
And then we'd have to get a tablet, but he can actually bring the tablet out. Did you say that? And they can see right there when you're,
Yeah. Yeah, he showed me before, and it's way better to navigate the system for the billing as well. And I'm pretty sure that it corresponds with Edmunds. So,
and we send it in,
ask them.
to make sure that it will.
And this will also, you're not going to have to be driving up to the top of the mountain every morning to check.
well, that's checking. That's not the water.
That's different.
Oh,
And I would still have to drive around town.
we want that, yes.
Yeah, that's more.
Second thing.
Yeah, checking the water tank level.
Is that going to require a tablet?
It would require a tablet. It doesn't have to
He
be.
can do it on his phone,
Yeah, it's hard to read.
yeah, and you might break it. And then, it takes several days to get a new phone. You can't see. I mean, if you got it on a screen and he goes out to someone's house, they'll be able to see the graph. And the graph is pretty neat.
Will that
And he can-
work with an Android or?
Yeah, it doesn't do either one.
So those expenses will come down compared to 13,000.
Oh, yeah.
That's small.
And we budgeted $9,000 to repair or replace this. And last year's budget, there was also $9,000 that wasn't spent. So it's kind of carried over. And we also budgeted $1,200 for some other part that would be the upgrade. So it would kind of be together. So basically we have about $10,200 or so already budgeted. So it's a few $1,000s more than what we had budgeted. But
even if we order it now, it won't be here until July.
We can get it in this budget.
Well, but we'll have to pay for it.
We pay
Yes,
for it.
we'll
And we
pay
pay
for it in this budget year, and it still will not be here until July. And he went ahead and ordered it, but he can't cancel it if we decide not to get it. But it would be good if we could get it in this budget year. And not have to
Okay,
budget.
let's double check that Edmunds will work
And I have
with it.
I sent all the information to them already to make sure that it'll flow over into their program, but.
Excellent.
I'd like to make
It's
a
still
motion.
Neptune, and the old system's Neptune, so they had said, I'm sorry, Connie, they had said they accept Neptune.
I'd like to make a motion, we go ahead and order to purchase this. Add the extra money if we can move money around a little bit. That would be our finance officer to look into those.
I'll second that motion.
Do we want discussion?
We need it.
Okay. Do we vote?
Yes.
Aye?
Yes.
Aye?
Can we go ahead and make a motion to do a budget amendment also at the same time then?
Sure,
since
but
we-
vote whether aye or no.
Oh, I.
Thank you. Okay. Now, if you want to make a motion to do a budget
Do we
amendment,
need
that's
to count
fine.
votes? Did we already,
All of us
everyone
said
say
yes.
aye?
Aye.
We all said, okay, didn't hear it.
It's okay.
Okay, yes, I would make a motion to increase the budget line item to the 13,500, I believe is the.
What about the tablet? Do we want
Do
to
we
add
have the
that?
money? We might have enough in the, well, let's see, let me see. Let's just go up to, this is 13.5. So I make a motion that we increase that line item to 14,000 even. That will give us a few $100s extra for a tablet, and then in case this price has changed any, by the time between now and July, it will be a little bit extra.
Okay.
I'll second that.
And I agree. Aye. We all agree on that.
Can we add this to our special meeting that we're?
Well, if y'all voted,
It's already just voted. We don't need to add it.
Oh, okay.
It's already done. Thank you. Okay.
We're gonna add that to the new water lead.
Yes,
Yes,
to make
please.
that 14,000 instead of the 9,000.
Okay.
Let me know when you're ready.
Hello,
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate all your time putting with Mike, meeting with him, and going through all this. It's a lot of work, a lot of investigation. Thank you. Okay, so the next on the agenda, number 4 under old business, town zoning on GIS mapping. Okay, that's like really not old, but I do need to talk about this. When I went down to see Ms. Chris Ferris about the assessment on something of my properties, in conversation I brought to him, because of the assessment amounts on vacant land that we own, he wasn't aware that our town had any kind of zoning. And he was like really surprised, because when he found out we had zoning and I had all 74 pages there to show him that this vacant property by itself is basically very worthless, but we own it. And he was surprised. He says, if we were able to, GIS mapping, if it was on the GIS mapping page for the county that we do have zoning and have the zoning on there, he would have been able to see that when he was doing his appraisals and assessments and be able to really get a better idea of what he's pricing things at. But he had no idea, because of the setbacks that are currently in the zoning, my little, I don't know how big, 60 by 80 lot couldn't possibly even be built on, when you have to add in septic and repair areas and everything else. So that needs to be brought out, looked into. If we could add GIS mapping to our website, so when people are looking at our website to, curious about our town, maybe investing in our town, maybe building in our town or whatever, they would be able to see all this information at a glance. So I do think it's important that we get busy on revamping our web page so that this can be added, and we can allow Chris to add our zoning that's in place now to the GIS mapping for the Graham County.
That mapping for the county is, I don't know that we can add that mapping, and it's so broad, it's not very precise that you're looking for.
But it's information that people do rely on. And
I go to the county. I look.
Okay, so this is what I'm proposing.
A link to the county website?
A link to the county website, yes. And the same thing with the county link, and have our zoning posted on this. If you pull up the GIS, he showed me on his computer, and it's got on the left side, it would have a list of drop downs, and you get to Lake Santeetlah, you drop down, it has important features about Lake Santeetlah, and one of those things would be the 74 pages of zoning that's on there, and it's not there. It would have saved him a lot of trouble and a lot of people a lot of trouble if he had known that ahead of time, but he didn't. Chris Ferris had also offered to come out here and speak to us again. So I don't know if you'd like to invite him out at the next meeting and have him go back over some of the stuff and where he got his calculations. Or if you're going to do it on an individual basis, which you really need to do because the town shouldn't be involved. But I had him here as a guest, and if you'd like, I can invite him back. He's willing to come speak. The other thing that he brought to my attention when I told him that in the zoning, if you look on one of the back pages where it talks about grandfathering and that you could rebuild according to the county
map that has your county deed, that has your map of your home on this property, he says, we can't do that. He says that is not to be used. The county, when they put these deeds with their property descriptions and their property measurements, that is not legal for somebody to use it as grounds for a zoning. So that needs to be relooked at. That's a problem. And he'll explain more about that, but that is not allowed. These are rough measurements, they're not exact, and to have them in a document where it says you have to put back what you had, this is not correct documents to use. So we have to be really careful about what we're using. So I want him to speak on that because I think that's a very important thing. If we have to use the zoning, it's in place, which we do, and that's what's there. But it's incorrect.
He's not an attorney, our zoning.
No, he's not, and then that's
covered by an attorney. And when I asked about my neighboring house with a deck that comes up to my bedroom window, Craig Justice said, yes, they can replace that deck in exactly the same footprint.
Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about, I'm not going to go through it now, but in the zoning, if you look at the zoning, and take the time to read it.
I have read it.
Good, and then you'll see where it says about grandfathering. You want to be careful.
That's a grandfathered deck.
Chris said that is not a legal document on the tax rolls.
No, so it can't be used as a legal precedence in zoning, because it's not a legal document. They don't present a legal document. Anyway, so that's what he said, and if you want to contradict him and go after him, go for it. But right now, he's the one that gave us this information. So if you want me to bring him in, I'll invite him to the next meeting. Ferris, F-A-R-R-I?
Ferriss.
Thank you. I knew I
Two
was
S's.
going to get that wrong.
Well, they pay me the big bucks.
We'll invite him back to speak before the next meeting. Thank you. Okay, so next on number 5 under old business is the update of the election board agreement. We need to take action on this. There is a time limit on it. Bo had seen reviewed the one that they presented to us a couple of meetings ago, and he has presented a new agreement. So we need to vote if this agreement should be something that he puts forth to the county. He is working with Jake Howard on this. Jake Howard is the county attorney. So the two attorneys are working together on this agreement. So have you all read what he's written?
May we have Bo tell us where he made the changes?
Yeah, I just wondered if you could color code it.
I don't have it color coded on my copy.
It's going to be difficult.
Bo, do you want to take the question?
Yeah, so just back up a little bit. I took what the document was presented to us, and based on the conversation, I essentially rewrote it and provided it to the attorney for the Board of Elections. I've not heard back from that attorney as to whether changes were acceptable or not. I don't recall all of the exact changes that I've made to that. I hear you were wanting to redline on that, but I don't have it really available. I believe it's pretty straightforward though, and I'm happy to answer any questions about it if you would like to.
I have both copies. I have the one that they sent us and then the new one if you want to compare them side by side.
Sure, I think it's more condensed, the new one.
Just want to be clear, Graham County has not agreed to this document yet. So I don't know if we need a vote, but if you do want to vote on this being agreeable now, it might help push things along on that end.
And it's in North Carolina statute, is that correct, Bo, that they, what's in this agreement is already required under North Carolina statute?
Some of the things are. Yeah, certainly the county Board of Elections is required to run a municipal election, and the municipality is required to pay for the actual cost of that. And so that part is statutory, yes.
It looks more streamlined.
I make a
adopt
motion.
this before Grant County, or just go ahead and?
I make a motion that we adopt this agreement and then forward it to Graham County for them. Yeah, so that they know that we have already approved it, and then the ball's in their court.
I'll second.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye? Okay, thank you both. We've approved it, so if you take it and share it with the county, we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, so next on is new business, American Security, Mike Jones. I don't think he's here. He didn't come. Okay, we had, somebody had asked to come and talk about security in the town, and I allowed it, but he's not here, so we'll have to move on. New business number 2 would be Gold Leaf Flood Mitigation Program, and this is a grant that Tina and Scott have been working on. You want to give us an update on that, please?
You met with, Scott met with James Aldrich. You start this.
Okay.
Do you need this for your footage and all that kind of stuff?
No, I mean, I probably wouldn't get that specific.
Okay.
So basically, Tina, I think Tina found the grant or something.
No, I didn't.
Or kind of, I'm sorry. But Tina has read all this stuff. But it's basically a grant that doesn't have a lot of restrictions on it, which is the thing that prevents us, town of Santeetlah, from getting a lot of grants. And so there's no restrictions in that sense, but it's all about water drainage, storm water, that sort of a thing. And so, you know, we have some issues we've been slowly working at here or there, but every time we fix one thing, water keeps going down and kind of creates another thing. So, so anyway, so I've gone through and looked at all the worst ditches and the different things we can do. The basic idea is we need to get, like, from Kevin's house up top, all the water down to the lake, doing the least amount of damage. So we can break that into several different projects. And so what we did, you can apply, we'll be able to apply next year if this turns out to be good for more things. But what we've done this time is we've gotten several areas, estimates for doing the paved ditching on Black Bear to try to be able to get the water down to Thunderbird. And then if those things work well, then we can work on there's a few problem areas that I'm aware of, and there may be more. So, and then I also looked at Santeetlah Trail is really bad. So putting in some ditching and getting those culverts in. So we sent that estimate. I think the whole estimate was like 70,000.
71,097 for quite a few linear feet.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. And
Almost 2,000.
So are you putting it in for one grant?
I'm going to put it in for one grant.
Okay.
For the 71,000 plus the additional that you had given me for other supplies that we would need to do the project. So it'll probably be right around 73,000. I'm guesstimating for the amount of the grant that we'll apply for. Most of it will be the culvert, ditching, paving the ditches like we did on Blackbird Trail when you came around. So different places to do that. And there's going to be some places that are going to need a little bit of road repair, like on Santeetlah Trail. Bill Smith's old house is really eroding there. It's pulling the road away. Black Bear, 460 feet, linear feet on Black Bear, 300 feet on Black Bear in a different spot, 1,000 linear feet on Snowbird, and about 440 feet on Santeetlah Trail, starting from like Craig Keith's house down to Jean's house. So I don't know the numbers, but on that side of the road. So that's what we're going to be applying for.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for your hard work again. Do you have any idea of when this submit the grant? Okay.
No.
Is there a time limit? Do they?
No.
It's a pretty open
It
grant.
just seems to be open, and I got an email from a lady, and she said if you submit it by April the 7th, she was going to put us on a calendar to visit. If it's after April 7th, then she won't be visiting within the next few weeks. So.
Okay.
And it didn't have any, she didn't say you would be approved or not approved. That was just about a visit.
Okay.
And so,
Senator Corbin's office sent me this information, and he's really good about letting people know the different municipalities that he's around, letting us know what's out there for us, and different things that come up statewide. So I'm really excited about that, being in connection with his office. Now, number 3 under old business or new business would be the resolution for the capital reserve fund. We need to take action on that if we can. And once again, our finance officer, I believe, has that information.
when we passed the budget in June of last year, we established the capital reserve fund, and we put a certain percentage of our tax aside for future road paving. And part of what has to be done is, once you set up a capital reserve fund, is you have to approve a resolution with guidelines of that money, how it will be spent, how it will be held, how you can withdraw the money, and it needs a separate budget. So what we have and what you have in front of you is the resolution. It's all based on North Carolina General Statute 159-13 through 18, which is the budget resolution. Our attorneys have looked over the resolution. They made several changes, and so this would be fine. So basically, the resolution is that the Capital Reserve Fund establishes funds to provide anticipated capital for the town's roads, funds to be used for paving and repair, that it will remain open and accumulate funds for a minimum of 10 years or until the amount has reached twice the amount of the town's tax amount. The Capital Reserve Fund shall be funded in the annual budget with 15% of the total ad valorem tax collected each year. The town council may appropriate and transfer the funds. You can make amendments to the resolution if you want to change what the fund is used for or not. And in order to withdraw the funds, which are supposed to be used for roads, you would do another resolution and a budget amendment withdrawing the funds to be used for paving.
Okay,
and at the end, we have used already some of the money before this was set up for the large paving project that we did. So there's $29,029 that would be starting the Capital Reserve Road Fund for this year.
Excellent.
And that would just carry over. And one day when we need enough money for Black Bear or Thunderbird, that would take a lot of money to do.
Okay, so that is what is presented. Is there a motion, and then we'll have discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion, further discussion? Diana?
Oh, well, she answered everything.
Well, thank you. All right, approve? Everybody approve? Aye?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
And
All right.
we have opened up the account, so call your team once and pick up the signature cards. So I'll call you guys.
I'll be down first thing this morning from the bank. And number 4, the ARPA Fund Grant Project Ordinance. We need to take action on that. That was the ARPA funds that were the state monies that Kim has gone to classes on, and now we have a document to prepare.
Yes, so we have
a document.
A document, many pages of the document.
Oh,
I've
boy.
been talking to Shannon, our auditor, and she helped me to prepare this. But she said this is the cleanest way for us to do it, and it's going to require us opening another account, put our funds in that account, and then we'll show them coming out of that account and going into the water. So we are doing, that budget amendment is, but she did that. So that's what this is. It's just showing that we're taking those funds, we're putting them into a separate checking account, and then we're going to use it for revenue replacement. It'll go into salaries, and it frees up that $13,385 to be used someplace else. So the money now is sitting in the general fund. That's what they said to do in the beginning when we received it, is to put it in the general fund. So this will allow us to get it and put it into the water fund.
And we budgeted it in the water fund already. We budgeted it in the water fund, but the money is in the general fund. So this is one of the cleanups. We're trying to get all the paperwork done so we can get the money moved, everything done with ARPA, so that it doesn't even have to convert basically over.
And the amount is just so handy.
So there is it's called a project or grant project ordinance, and that, there's one thing there, and then the budget amendment.
So do we need 2 motions for each?
I think we can just approve them
Okay.
together.
Can I have a motion to approve both of these together?
I'll make a motion to approve both.
Thank you. I'll second.
Aye.
Everybody in agreement or discussion?
Aye.
Thank you. All righty, so that's discussion, under discussion. Okay, I guess
And
that
I
was
think
it.
that will be the
Is that
end
it?
then. That will be the end of
Okay.
the ARPA.
I'll report on that, well, I'll probably do it next week.
Right, the end of April was due, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
And then you have to report every year, but it'll be 0, so it'll be easy.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, and look what's on the screen. The next thing under discussion, I just wanted to share with everybody. We were asked by Robbinsville to take part in the Veterans Memorial Celebration. And those are the flags that we put up like 2 weeks before their celebration day, and then they were taken down shortly after. It was a very nice ceremony. I wished everybody could have been there. There we are. I have here the street dedication that was made. It's the flyer they put out. And we got credit on the back of this for helping with the flags and purchasing them, and that was not done by town money, but they're up. And there we are. So we were very, very honored. There's Karen. We were very honored to take place in this, and we were recognized and thanked highly for being there and being part of this. It was very rewarding. I thank them for letting me be part of it.
The flags looked great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Didn't they? Just waiting. So that is that.
I don't know if you want to say anything about this or not.
Yes, I do. This is not just a hole in the ground.
That's
This
not
is something. This is the latest leak.
Okay.
And this is the latest leak that we've had on Black Bear, and poor Scott worked Thursday afternoon into the evening trying to put this to rest, trying to seal this up, and that's the one that Kevin was complaining about. We that stopped the water because that was a mess.
No, we had a power outage.
We did have a power
That was
outage
the
too, and we were all out of power, so it wasn't just, isolated.
7 hours.
But that's what happens. Do we have another of the after the storm picture by chance? Were you able to find that? Just some after the storm
What
business.
happened with that one? The pipe was it one of those where the pipe shifted in the road? Like
You
then
wanna-
you needed one of those joint pusher-upper things again?
Yeah, no, it was just Friday afternoon, I noticed a little bit of water coming out, so Jack helped me, I appreciate the help, but we dug it up, thankfully it was just a 2-inch pipe, not the 6-inch, so, but the pipe had been put on a rock again, and so it had settled and cracked the pipe, so.
I actually have a picture of that rock that caused all this problem.
Oh.
I didn't get sent to her. I document everything, I try to. So, no, that was a mess, so.
And there's not a blowout at the bottom of that pipe. So this was on the same system that Kevin is on, but it's far below him.
It's not down on Blackbird. Right?
Yeah, on Black, yeah, down below.
We're on Chio Trails.
Same height fits.
But yeah, it's the same system that's separate from everybody else. So it did affect his water.
Connie, are you trimming trees now?
No, that was after the storm. And I went out and I picked up the debris out of the road. Scott was away with his family, and so I said, you know what, I'll go out and start gathering up and then trying to clear the roads up. So that is a little project.
That was the one on Santeetlah Point though, right? That had the line down? Is that the pine
That
tree?
was all part of that storm. No, this was stuff on the road.
Yes,
I went all the way
stuff.
around and picked up what
Thunderbird.
I went all the way around and picked up what I could. So anyways, just to show you.
I like to see the picture of you doing that tree on Santeetlah.
No, I didn't do the tree on Santeetlah. But I do want to thank you for bringing it out, because I do want to let Duke know, if we could just let them publicly know, thank you for coming out and taking care of, they had their hands full when they had trees everywhere.
Awful storm all over the county.
Major storm damage.
Yeah,
The
I think it's one of
biggest,
the biggest outages that Graham County's ever had.
yeah,
Well, there
so
were a couple thousand people out, it wasn't just us.
1,100 odd.
86 or something
Yes.
like that.
There was people out of power for nearly a day, so 7-8 hours is.
Yeah, so we were actually fortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we had 27 hours, I think Jim documented. But I wonder if we could set a little thank you to do, just thanking them for being out here and taking care of us.
When they started working on the one at the beginning of Santeetlah Point, they weren't aware until I went down, came back up, and told them that there was another big tree down at the end of Santeetlah Point.
It was all the houses.
Once that was noticed, they upgraded the call.
Yeah, because it was a dangerous situation when the power would have come back on. It was, part of, one tree was laying in the transformer, another one was pulled the weatherhead off somebody's home. So it was bad.
I sent pictures to Tom.
Yeah, and she's lucky she don't have.
It's still all in her yard.
You know.
All
right,
her
so
yard, but-
then we have now is to move on, I guess, to public comment, the final public comment. Would anybody like to say anything? Jab, is there anybody else?
With regard to the zoning and the height and all the complaints that people are supposedly bringing up, how many here know how the height is judged by the zoning? Anybody? Anybody?
Main living area.
Anybody?
Well, tell us, because it's getting late.
Okay. It's judged by the road level at the emergency 911 entrance. That's the way it's written in the zoning.
So is that the county ordinance or is that the county?
That's the town ordinance.
County doesn't have.
County doesn't have zoning. We're the only town in the county that has zoning.
Okay. We're the only town.
Well, that's pretty
No,
much
there's
the
three others.
level entrance.
There's 3 others. Anyways, next thing. The power going out had nothing to do with changing the color of your water. That was the leak. Nothing happens when the power goes out as far as changing the color of the water.
It's just that we don't get
So-
that pressure.
Yeah, but again, you were complaining because of the stuff that stops up your little filters and all that, has nothing to do with the power outage.
But when they turn the power of the water back on, then it forces.
And we all deal with that dirt and the cleaning of the screens every time there's a leak. So if you're gonna be refunded, I got a couple of times I'd like to be refunded for too.
I think it happens more often in my place.
No.
It's about my fifth. No.
All right, does anybody else have public comment? No? On Zoom? On Zoom, does anybody have anything else to say on Zoom?
I put some valves on
I got some of them.
Okay, everyone, let's move on. The next scheduled meeting is May 4th, 2023 at 5:30. No, at 10 o'clock, I'm sorry, that's right, because we had to reschedule that meeting because of commitments during that month. So it's going to be at 10 o'clock on May 4th.
And possibly next Wednesday.
And possibly next Wednesday for the special meeting, and we'll send out a notification on that.
And that's just for the budget.
And that's just for the budget amendments, to tie up all those budget numbers. We're still looking for a clerk position. We had 2 candidates, and neither one of them were able to take the position, so we're still looking. I just wanted to tell that I will miss Emily completely. Every day I'll miss her, but I thank her for her time here. Also, to our mail carrier, Wilmer Carver is retiring Monday, so all you got mail from Wilmer, she's no longer going to be just bringing it to you, just so you know.
We'll have a nice story about her in the Graham Star next week.
Oh, that would be nice.
Yeah,
she's a
sweet
gal.
sweet lady.
Let me just, before you even do that, let me just research, make sure. Update on Ralph Mitchell's return. He's supposed to be returning any time now. I don't know. I haven't spoken to him or his family in weeks, so we just got to wait it out and see, but he is due to come back. That was it for me. You want one last public comment?
Yeah, Debbie, the postmaster, had asked when we were at one of the, I think the veterans thing or something, about the possibility of putting gang boxes out here and stuff, and she wanted me to kind of bring it to the people and or the council to feel it out. I told her, I said, I didn't think it would fly. No. But
What's
I
the
did.
name, Buster?
She wants to put the
Put like a group of 10 together or something at roads, so they don't have to go down the road so much, you know.
Ours are already written in ten.
Lakeside already has one.
Yeah.
But it's
Some not all.
she asked if I mentioned it,
Group
so I
of
mentioned
100
it.
or something.
They don't use the gang boxes in Lakeside, do they?
They're working on it.
Never have used it.
They're working on it though, they're trying to get them up and running. Bradley's working on that.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I do have one announcement.
Okay, yes, then please.
He called and asked, he said they're gonna do the groundbreaking.
Who called?
Taco.
Oh.
For the new fire hall, or the
Yes.
addition to the fire hall. And he wanted to know if you guys could come. It's on the 20th, next Thursday at 4 o'clock.
Groundbreaking fire department building.
Yeah, that building, we all kind of had a big meeting our first responders and thanking our first responders, and we did a
You sent out an email about that.
quick thing to raise money for their building. And I believe, and I don't know if I'm stepping out of line here, but I think they were able to almost raise $16,000 from our little town in donations towards their building. But then the county was gracious enough to be able to find some ARPA money. So they are going to be building this, breaking ground on this.
Monday we start.
Yes, how exciting for them. And what they're going to be able to do is bring that pumper that will help put out our fires closer to us, because right now they have to house it in a tanker. They have, I'm sorry, I don't know, not a fire, but the tanker will be housed here locally.
Will house, I think, will it house 3 units or 2?
We'll have 3 doors, but it'll be able to, that tanker we have, we can't fit in a building, so.
I think it's got the tanker in
So
it,
that's
which was,
Next Thursday.
they got the tanker and then they're like, oh wait, we can't get it in here. I remember that, that was
All right, so if there's nothing else, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting, please. Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, and all approved? Aye.